Walter Wangerin, The Book of God, Tuesday. On Tuesday, Jesus went with his disciples to Jerusalem and into the courts of the temple. A light rain was falling, so they gathered under the roof of the portico of Solomon, and there Jesus continued his talk, but he took no action, absolutely none. He told a story about a landowner who had let his vineyard out to tenants. When the harvest had been taken in, the landowner sent a servant to get from the tenants his due, but they beat him up. He sent a second servant and they beat him too. The third servant they murdered, so the landowner decided to send his son. His beloved son, Jesus said. Surely they would respect his son. But when the tenants saw that it was the son, they thought to make the vineyard their own by killing the landowner's only heir. What will the landowner do, Jesus said at the end of his story, when he finds that the tenants have executed his son, put his beloved son to death? Don't you think he will come and destroy them too? Judas saw certain members of the ruling council among the people in Solomon's porch. He noticed how stiff and self-conscious they became when Jesus spoke of executions. Quickly they left the area, but Jesus let them go. He hadn't so much as engaged them in dialogue. No action, only talk. Later, as they wandered out of the temple, Thomas paused to marvel at the walls. "Look, teacher," he said, "how huge the stones are, yet how close the masonry." Jesus responded in odd, distracted tones. "The time is coming when not one stone will be left on another. They'll all be thrown down." Again, Judas was confused. The Messiah was to restore the temple and Jerusalem. Twice now, Jesus had spoken of the city's destruction. So to provoke him, Jesus said, "When, Lord? When will the beautiful stones come down? Tell us what signs we can look for that these things are finally going to be accomplished." Jesus said, "When you hear of wars and rumours of wars, don't worry. They are not the end. Nations will rise against each other. There will be earthquakes and famines. These are just the beginning of the birth pains. Listen to me. The gospel must first be preached to all nations, and those who preach it will be hated for my name's sake." Jesus looked at Judas. "But you asked for signs," he said. "Your dreams, Judas, are both greater and lesser than you know. Here are your signs. The Son of Man will come in clouds with power and glory, all the angels surrounding him. He will sit on his glorious throne, and all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. The sheep he will place at his right hand and the goats at his left. And which, Judas, do you think will be saved? Listen to my last parable of all. The king will say to those at his right hand, 'Come, O blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me, naked and you clothed me, sick and you visited me, in prison and you came to me.' But the righteous will ask, 'When, Lord, did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you a drink? When did we welcome you or clothe you or visit you?' And the king will answer them, 'Truly, when you did it to one of the least of my brothers and my little sisters, you did it unto me.'" Judas put his head down and started to walk away. And Jesus said, "Wait, there is one more part to the parable. The king will say to those who are at his left hand, 'Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire, for I was hungry, and you gave me no food, and I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink, a stranger, naked, sick, in prison, and you did nothing at all for me.' But they too will ask, 'When did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or in any need and did not minister to you?' And then the king will answer, 'Truly, as you did it not unto the least of these, you did it not unto me.' Now, Judas, go your way. Hear with your ears, see with your eyes. Watch for the coming of the true kingdom of God, for it will surely take you by surprise." That evening, the disciples and Jesus went to eat with Lazarus in Bethany. They reclined around a table while his sister Martha served them. Then Lazarus' other sister Mary entered the room and walked to Jesus carrying an alabaster jar full of ointment. extremely expensive, pure nard. She went behind him where his feet were stretched out on the floor, and she knelt down. She broke the flask and anointed the feet of her Lord with a slow flow of oil, and the house was filled with the precious scent. In a choked voice, Judas Iscariot said, "What about the poor, Lord? What about those who are least in the world? Shouldn't this ointment have been sold for 300 denarii and the money given to them?" His face was red with emotion. Jesus too reacted with emotion. "What's the matter with you?" he said. "Who are you to blame this woman? Let her alone. She's done for me the good work that no one else has thought to do. She has anointed my body in advance of my burial. The poor will always be with you, but I will not always be with you." Mary understands that. Do you, Judas? Do you take my meaning now? Judas could not so much as nod. He was suffocating in humiliation.